It's TMNT, but also Morphin time. Hello, welcome to another figure view. Today we're gonna look at the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. Tommy Oliver, aka Foot Soldier, and Raph as the Red Ranger. This is a crossover that actually happened in the realm of comic books, if you're not aware of it. I read it, and I can recommend that one, but as far as these figures go, well, I have to have a look first. Let's dive in. I gotta be honest, this is a huge treat for all the 90s kids, so like, you know, I'm an 80s kid, but born in the 80s, raised in the 90s. Raph stands at 15 centimeters to the top of the head, which means we are going up to 6 inches tall. For Tommy, aka the Foot Soldier, he stands at about 15 and a half to the top of his head, which means for your inches, we are going up to 6.1. Size comparisons. Here's Jolter, NECA Michelangelo, Super 7 Donatello, and Darkseid. Overall look in detail, here's the guys just real quick side by side, and I gotta have a look at them one by one because I'm standing up for this one. I recently started changing my setup a little bit, but overall look in detail, I mean, I'm just a huge fan of the design. Yeah, they do look a lot more humanoid under the Power Rangers armor and whatnot, but the overall design of the turtles for the comic book already looked a little bit more humanoid, so I'm not mad about it. You got the classic Tyrannosaurus look in there. It's shaped mostly the same, but a little bit more rounded to accommodate for the turtle head. Also a little bit wider, goes a little bit more to the front. Does have some red eyes in the black visor, I guess, for added detail, and I do like the silver on there. Have a giant golden shell in the back that just looks clean as hell, and some more gold bands that go around the muscles. For the gloves, you basically have the classic Power Ranger style, but you do have the turtle hands. A little bit of a color difference from the white in the gloves and the white in the hands, because I think it's just white plastic for the hands, but it's actually painted. As such, the paint also does have some bleeding. It doesn't really cover up the red as nicely as I wish it would. But considering the price point, you know, I will be a little bit more lenient on that. Also, there's like a white crystal or whatever in the front, and I also love the molded muscle work. In the chest, you do have the Dynamorpher, which it does kind of look weird. They have molded it, but mostly the paint kind of brings it out. Then you have some pouches for the guns and the weapons, well, more like the size for Raph. Going down to the big legs, does have the very muscular thighs, and once again you got the turtle feet on the lower half. For Tommy, you got a mostly classic looking foot soldier design with some added details here and there to have their own spin on it, and I actually really dig it. First of all, you have red eyes, which do have a little bit of a darker purple going around it. Really looks menacing, and some seam lines from the mask and tons of wrinkles in it, so that makes it look very interesting and detailed in general. Because the design is very simple, obviously you have some purple, you have some gray. This part is soft plastic, so it does not get in the way, and then you actually also have some blades on the side and a little bit of battle damage in there as well, which does look very nice. Does have the articulation points, so kind of disrupting it, but I guess that's what happens if you want to have the good articulation, and it does have some good articulation. We'll get to that in a second. Got the belt with the bow over here, and also has a place for the sword in the back, so you can hold that as well. Weapon storage is always very welcome, and the bandages going around down here, which actually also have a very nice molded detail in there. Also, same thing for the top, for his wrists, so, and then down to the feet, which, you know, it's mostly gray plastic, but overall, there's some added detail here and there, which I really appreciate. For the articulation, you do have your standard Lightning Collection points of articulation, but it's kind of held back by the shell first with the helmet overall. You do have a little bit of wiggle motion back and forth, does tilt side to side, and does go all the way around. The neck is super limited, but it does help with a little bit of posing. Overall, it's alright, I guess. Then you have the shoulder is connected via a ball, so you can rotate it in the socket, but you also have the hinge that moves it up and down. Bicep swivel, it swivels. Double hinged elbow moves up on both sides very nicely. And then you have these hands actually have the hinge that goes side to side. This one's kind of frozen,
goes back and forth as I run into the tripod. Sorry for the shakiness. And then you have these articulation points in the chest area, but they don't really do anything because, as I was saying, it is trapped by the shell. So you do have a little bit of wiggle motion back and forth, but not really a lot. That's part of the design. Like, really, if you would have cut this up, it would have looked ugly, so I'm okay with that. The leg moves forward, out to the side, can also rotate it a little bit, but if that's not enough for you, you also have a thigh swivel, which, man, this guy is really stiff, but hey, that helps for posability. It means it's not spaghetti engineering, you know, nothing's floppy over here, really. It does keep the pose, so that's very nice. Double hinged knee, going back to that, and a hinge in the foot, which does also not really accomplish that much as back and forward goes, but it does have a pretty nice pivot. Tommy over here, though, does a lot better. He does have a hinge in the neck as such. Also, the head is completely unrestricted, so very good. Does tilt side to side a little bit, does go all the way around. Shoulder articulation is exactly the same, can rotate it in the socket. You have a bicep swivel, which looks ugly that they cut it off cleanly over there. Why didn't they mold it kind of around the shoulder? Unfortunate. Then you have the double hinged elbow, same thing. And the fist also on this one has a hinge that goes up and down. We do have some other hands. Then for the chest area, very nimble, goes side to side, back and forth, and also rotates without any issue. And then you have a bit of a crunch going on over here for your abs. Does get some good poses in, like really ninja poses is not a problem. With this guy, leg moves forward, leg moves out to the side, and it does not really move to the back because he does have a butt. Also rotates a little bit over here, same thigh swivel. Also got the double hinge knees. And there's another swivel on the bandages over here. Does he have one on the top? No, there wouldn't be anything over there. Just checking, and the foot has the hinge, which does move forward quite nicely and back, and also has the same pivoting. For the accessories, you do get a lot, starting off with different head sculpts. When you know, we have both of them and mask. You have an angry Raph, which the paint on his teeth is a little bit not so great, but I love the eyes actually. Nice detail on there, and you can tell it's a little bit of a different look considering the mask and whatnot. It looks a lot more cartoony. And then you have Tommy, same thing. This is based on his comic book appearance. So if you're saying this doesn't look like Jason David Frank, it's not supposed to, but still I feel like it does a convincing job at looking like Tommy does. Also the paint job on the hair and the detail on it is very impressive. Good stuff. He also does get a mask. Let me show you that real quick. You have like kind of just slide that over his face, and then you also have a face mask, and then you have this piece when he has a face mask down just to wrap around his neck. Then you got one of my personal highlights, the size. Raph size updated in the Power Rangers look. Look at all the detail. The paint job on it is so freaking clean, considering like the golden lines on the handles and the Tyrannosaurus logo. Good stuff. You have a very plain sword for Tommy, but still it does look good. I'm not trying to knock it just by saying, oh, it's so plain. You have also these energy effects. This one's supposed to slide over the sword. This one is for the size, just a little bit. And then you have this effect, which I guess you put over Tommy's fist. As far as fists go, you have the fist hands, which now you have the hinge that goes up and down and outside to side, as I mentioned before. You got open posing hands for your posing. And then you got the other fist hands for Tommy. So, unfortunately, Tommy does not have any other hands. You know, if you want the holding hands where the hinge goes up and down, you don't get any of that. So, that's about it. Final thoughts for this 2-pack, and quite frankly, this is phenomenal. I love this. The idea in general is a wet dream of everybody who grew up in the 90s, who grew up with Power Rangers and TMNT, to have this crossover and have both sides kind of slip into the other guy's costumes is such a fan favorite, colossal crossover that it blows my mind. And overall, these figures are really good. I mean, I've been kind of up and down with the Lightning collection. I had some, and some of them are really strong, others are not so much, but I feel like these releases, I don't have anything to complain about. Sure, the paint can be wanky in some places with a little bit of bleeding and the white not covering up the red so well, but again, at the price point that the Lightning collection is moving around, I don't really have a big issue with it. I feel they still articulate very, very well. They look amazing. And they have so many accessories to really get in some cool poses in. And by the way, I haven't even mentioned it, but in case you haven't seen it, Raph has also a little bit of a rounded place around his hands actually, so he can hold the sides like that, which is one of my favorite side poses. So yeah, you can do that as well. I do recommend this one. It's absolutely amazing. It's something that really stands out, and it's different, and it's cool. And again, if you're a fan of this, 100% recommend it. And even if you're not, I would highly recommend you at least have a look at it. That's gonna do it, guys. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever Raph and Tommy want.